Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the professor, and this is the moment of truth.
I don't care what anybody else talks about in America. It's not worthwhile wasting your time. The problem in America is not drug abuse, crime, low-income housing, public housing, food stamps, welfare, teenage pregnancy. Those are symptoms of a problem. The symptoms are the fact that you don't own and control anything to run you and control your lives. That's the problem. And the second thing is inappropriate behavior pattern. And before I get into inappropriate behavior patterns, let me define that for you.
By its adoption of House Resolution 189, the House has resolved that Representative Al Green be censured, that Representative Al Green forthwith present himself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure, and that Representative Al Green be censured with public reading of this resolution by the Speaker. The House had come to order. The House had come to order. What's that?
You want to let him keep doing this, or it's only fair?
Dr. Claude Anderson spent decades talking about what he called inappropriate behavior. And here you've had an example of it. And the saddest part is, for a lot of people, they don't even know that this isn't some one-off. For the shills and ops out there asking why it is that we in the black grassroots have taken to ridiculing the Congressional Black Caucus, just take a look at this. Utterly pathetic. I thought that everything was on the line. Democracy itself hangs in the balance. Well, now that the orange man is back in the White House, it's time to ask, what is it that the Democrats are going to do to show that they're prepared to fight for America? Well, apparently this is how they're fighting. By standing there, singing songs. You know, you DNC plants, you constantly tell us that the GOP is dragging America towards fascism. For the moment, we'll put aside the fact that Democrats have helped to promote this by attacking their base like Obama did when he began the practice of attacking the term woke, attacking the people who are fighting for their very lives against the thugs in blue. Here we have the Democrats telling us that America's in an existential crisis, where the GOP is instituting a Fourth Reich. It's war. And what has been the Democratic Party's response to this? Hakeem Jeffries told people hold up ping pong paddles with signs on them. Well, that'll put the fear of God into the MAGAs. And on the other hand, you had one lonely congressman who decided that he alone would stand up in the middle of an address to a joint session of Congress and yell some things at the president. That's what the Democrats are doing. And then afterwards, instead of the Democrats circling the wagons for him, they decide, let's go ahead, hold hands, and sing some songs. This is why I call these people a bunch of civil rights retreads. Khalid Muhammad said, forget about we shall overcome. Instead, it should be we shall overrun. Now, if the Democrats meant all of their rhetoric that they say, then they would understand that they're on a battlefield. Doesn't matter if it's the floor of the House of Representatives. The Republicans are at war with them. The Democrats ought to be waging war back, but they're not. Instead, Hakeem Jeffries is concerned about tone policing. He's concerned about making sure, don't want anyone thinking that Democrats are rude. Now, I'd like for anyone to please tell me, what do you see here that's adequate to the threats that the Democrats claim to be facing? All of these diehard Democrat supporters, recently they've begun sounding a lot more like us. Ain't that interesting? See, the black grassroots been out here for over a decade and a half spitting this truth, and you couldn't help but notice that when we began, there were practically nobody who was out here sounding like us. But we had a lot of people telling us we were wrong. What do y'all think y'all is? Y'all a bunch of little wannabe Malcolms or something. They were talking that trash. But then over time, they had to change their words. We didn't change ours. And now we're seeing it happening all over again. After years and years of warning the country that the MAGAs were going to institute fascism here in America, now that Trump's back in the White House and the Republicans are running hog wild, the Democrats are not fighting back, quote unquote. The Democrats are not even holding the line. The Democrats don't seem to be doing anything other than going tisk tisk and I guess trying to kill some time until the midterm elections. Now, why are the Democrats doing that? That's what a whole lot of these folks are here asking. Why is it that the Democrats are sitting here playing by Marsbury rules and just sitting down and doing nothing? I'll tell you exactly why. It's because you, Democrat supporters, you have conditioned the Democratic Party to expect that what's going to happen will be a repeat of the 2018 midterms. That after 2 years of the orange man back in the White House, Americans will get tired of his asinine antics and, predictably, the pendulum will, as it always does, swing toward the opposition party during an off-year election. That's what the Democrats are counting on. They're counting on things politically going the way they always have, that it's going to be no matter what the same predictable cycle. Sure, it'll be louder and more obnoxious this time around, but ultimately the pattern will still be the same as it always is, that the president's party will lose control of the House of Representatives or the Senate or both during an off-year election. That's what the Democrats are counting on as far as they're concerned. They don't care what the people in the base are saying. They don't care what the voters are saying. Just go ahead and let Trump and his pals do whatever they're going to be doing. And the people who are out there making demands of the Democrats, they'll pipe down come 2 years from now because they'll just be so eager to at least get to the polls and give the Republicans a black eye. That's what they're betting on. And the reason they're betting on that is because you shills, you plants, and you go along to get along Negroes, you've conditioned the Democrats to think that you're going to vote for them no matter what. Sadly, because they've been right. They have been able to count on that because that has been the pattern. Even when Democrats do absolutely nothing, even while Republicans are attacking you, even while Republicans are attacking the Democrats. Now, for the people who even at this late date are trying to do some pathetic rearguard cheerleading for the Democrats, I'm asking you, what kind of opposition party is this? You even had Democrats who voted to censure Congressman Green, and it's not the first time. When Congressman Joe Wilson screamed, "You lie," at Barack Obama during a State of the Union address, Democrats were the ones who controlled the House of Representatives. That's why Nancy Pelosi was sitting behind Obama on his left side. That's where the Speaker of the House sits. It was her call as to what to do about this, what at the time was an unprecedented breach of decorum. And what was Speaker Nancy Pelosi's decision to do about this? As Speaker of the House, you'd have thought that she'd have been leading the charge to say there needs to be a formal censure, but instead, not only did she not demand a censure, she was opposed to even the resolution of disapproval. So merely entering into the congressional record that she didn't approve of it as far as she was concerned, oh my God, this is too much. She opposed even doing that. Well, with the woman who was the most powerful Democrat in the House of Representatives sitting here opposing censuring a Republican for an unprecedented breach of decorum, hell, who needs Republican leadership when you got Democrats like this? Democrats refused to censure Joe Wilson. There just wasn't enough support for it. And in fact, 12 Democrats actually voted against the measure to merely say that they disapproved of what Wilson did. And as for those 12 Democrats, this number included Congresswoman Kathy Giffords and even Dennis Kucinich. Dennis Kucinich, who is such a hero to the leftist activist class, he didn't even want to say that he disapproved of what Joe Wilson did. That's how weak and spineless he was on this. 12 Democrats gave what amounted to tacit support for that stunt that Joe Wilson pulled, and of course virtually all the Republicans voted in support of it. Oh, and what did the Congressional Immigrant Caucus say about this unprecedented act and the Democratic leadership's weak response to it? Barbara Lee said, "Today's resolution is an opportunity for us to come together and reject incivility. Let's turn the page." Which, by the way, was pretty much the same thing the Republicans said, except they didn't say anything about coming together or rejecting incivility. The Republicans were just saying, you know what, we need to move on from all this. Yeah, but they're not saying that today, are they? So ever since this era of incivility began, Democrats have not only accepted this abuse, a number of them have encouraged it. Many Democrats won't even vote to so much as disapprove of it. This is what the Democrats have been doing for going on 15 years now. Sitting here and just laying down for every bit of disrespect and abuse that the Republicans want to dish out. And you expect me to respect that? A party that gives these weak responses or virtue signaling or worse votes to support the abuse themselves? These political puppets don't even respect themselves. All you shills, please come out of hiding and go ahead and lecture us now about how the Democrats are the only ones standing up to the fascists. Yeah, you can see this track record of standing up to the GOP. The one guy who at least did, well, whatever you want to call Al Green's gesture, and Democrats refused to walk out of the chamber in solidarity with him, and some of them even voted to censure him. Weakness, acquiescence, and surrender. I guess this is the political party that's got the steel in their spines to stop fascism from taking root in America, right? Oh, and one more thing. Notice how I haven't criticized Representative Green for his outburst. I haven't said that he shouldn't have done it. Unlike the shills and DNC operatives, I'm consistent. If Representative Green had made a scene on our behalf, I would be praising and supporting him. But even though he didn't, at the end of the day, I'm asking whether or not this guy is actually at least fighting the GOP. Anyone who's making it a point to actually promote the black grassroots in Congress should be recognized for that. I don't care about decorum, because that's a line that only gets dragged out whenever Republicans are trying to tone police. Unfortunately, under these circumstances, they don't have to because Hakeem Jeffries is doing it for them. Those scumbags are always talking about political correctness, and yet the Republicans let Marjorie Greene show nude pictures in Congress, and they let her and her other reprobate Lauren Boebert, and before them Congressman Joe Wilson, disrupt multiple State of the Union addresses, and these same GOP figures were fine with it. Yet they're ready to faint if a Democrat speaks out of turn. Yes, it's fake. Yes, it's hypocrisy. And there's no excuse for the fact that the Democrats are not fighting them on it. For you people who tell us that we should back the Democrats, what are we backing exactly? Democrats are not coming to their base. They are not trying to cater to their base. They are not even trying to reestablish trust with their base. They're not doing anything. Instead, we see the likes of Gavin Newsom and these so-called new Democrats who are doubling down on running to the right and trying to pander to Rahm Emanuel's mythical Biden Republicans. Yeah, the same Biden Republicans who refused to vote for Biden in 2020 and then who gave Republicans control of the House of Representatives in 2022 and then who voted Kamala Harris out of the White House in 2024 and gave the Republicans control of the Senate. Yeah, those Biden Republicans. You can tell the Democratic Party's got their act together, don't they? I mean, these guys, they got the game plan down pat from top to bottom. And look at the results that they're producing. So before you go continuing to infest my comment sections with your pathetic little DNC pitches, you might want to ask what the hell the Democrats are doing for themselves. You expect black people after 60 plus years of saving the Democratic Party to keep coming to the rescue? Don't dream. Everybody else has been out to lunch for us, so now we're finally taking some time off from saving the world. There are people who need to realize that they created the very circumstances that they're lamenting today. All of that forked-tongued, two-faced behavior is what caused this. And no, none of these people was tricked. None of them was deceived. Nobody lied to them. The orange man has made it clear for a decade now what he thinks of all of these people who have been playing footsie with these white supremacists. And I'm not just talking about immigrants. I'm also talking about a number of these Democrats. But what a lot of them thought was that he was talking about other people other than themselves. They were practicing anti-black racism before Trump got in the White House. And they're still practicing it today. Only difference is they got to split some of their time between attacks from the GOP, who were formerly their friends. Now, ordinarily at this point, I would say you're going to learn today, but that's not true. There's some folks who never learn. So class is out, and you get a failing grade. This refusal by the Democrats to stand up even for Al Green's admittedly tame gesture, it's going to inevitably turn into them sucking up even more to the white right. That's what they're doing. More of those on the left will begin saying what we've been saying for years, except what they're going to say is that the Democratic Party is broken. Well, that's not true at all. The Democratic Party is working exactly the way it was intended, as controlled opposition. The operative term there being controlled. Why do you think that both parties switched positions so flawlessly in the 20th century? All of those Dixiecrats became Republicans without batting an eyelash, remember? And why was that? Because they could all agree that they hated black people. That's the actual third rail of American politics. Donald Trump, for example, was a typical New York Democrat up until about 10 or 15 years ago. And this while he was committing housing discrimination against black people in the 1970s and then taking out ads in the New York Times in the 1980s demanding that innocent black children be put to death. No Democrat or Republican has ever taken out an ad demanding that the death penalty be reinstated or even used for a white person who has harmed or even killed a black person. None of them has ever done that. None of their millionaire and billionaire friends have done it either. And don't think that Democrats were overlooking Trump's bigotry simply because he was a loud, obnoxious New Yorker. Michael Bloomberg is also another New York white racist who boldly defended stop and frisk, who said that more black people needed to be harassed by the police, and the white media and the Democrats both supported him. This is why black people have had enough of being played. These other folks have gone along with it because the Democrats have produced things for them. So for these other folks, all of this is some huge shock and it's got them shook. Well, you know what? Since they've been the main beneficiaries of that party, they're the ones who need to fix it. Though without us to be the moral muscle behind the movement, we see how well their own attempts at trying to right the ship have gone. It's becoming all but impossible for these DNC cheerleaders to deny the fact that at this point, the Democrats are literally expecting to get your vote for a song. Good day. And be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Mouse, Kenny White, Jeffrey Williams, Deep I-904, and Henry Fair. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.